Live. What's going on, Jake? Good.
I'm all good, man. It's nice and roasty and toasty in this office this morning. I love it.
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. I'm gonna let you say hi to people while I say to the group that we're live.
Good Monday morning to everyone tuning into the podcast this morning. This is your weekly dose of motivation to kickstart your week in the best way possible. Quite a few things we're going to be talking about today. Comparison. I think one of them was comparison, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of patterns that we see with our clients and our members at the gym, and obviously, getting your week off to the best start possible. We'll have a little recap over the weekend actually, because we haven't spoken to you guys, the listeners, since Thursday. So, how's your week been since Thursday, Lewis? All good?
As I realise I'm on mute. Yeah, no, it was cool. Just busy at the end of last week, and then busy on Saturday. Saturday I finished check-ins at like 3 a.m., which meant that obviously we had airsoft at like 9 a.m. So not a lot of sleep. But then we played airsoft till 4 p.m., which is pretty much all go. And then just chilled last night, and then pretty much back at work, bro. So yeah, it's been good though. It's been good. Everybody's smashing it, and the airsoft was fun with everybody. And Maddie obviously ran the cowboy spin, yeehaw, which was good. And yeah, it's decent. What about you?
Trying to think of what I did now. Yeah, Friday, Saturday did check-ins with my people. Loads of progress being made, which is incredible to see. Rest of Saturday, catched up with Mumsy. And then Sunday I had football, airsoft as well in the afternoon, and pretty productive week.
Nice, brother. Nice. It's good. It's good. It's what it's all about. It's nice to have a busy week. Sometimes it's I don't know about you, but I find if I have a busy week, I always love it when I'm doing it, and then when my body eventually catches up, I'm like, I find it really hard to be able to get that energy back. But equally, I can't stop hunting for those busy weeks. So even though my body's like dying and crippling on the inside, like you need more sleep, I'm like, yeah, but it was fun, no. And then this evil voice is like, do it again, but this time get less sleep. Yeah, it's not ideal. It's like self-destructive, but in a positive way.
Yeah, no, I get you. I feel like if I have a really busy week, then I have to sort of continue that on into the weekend, and then I feel a bit more accomplished when I have a busy weekend. I feel really guilty at the moment. If ever I like sort of slack on not necessarily slack, but chill out too much on the weekends, I'm like, oh shit, I need to get up and do something.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. You sort of always want to be busy all the time.
It's part of the joy of being self-employed, brother. You always feel guilty for doing literally anything other than work. So you've got a whole life of that ahead of you. Enjoy.
Can't wait to go away next week.
Right, okay, bro. So let's get stuck into everything. So obviously I put in the group chat, we're going to cover comfort can be your worst enemy, comparisons holding you back, how important it is to keep the right people around you, and patterns that we see with our clients as well. So those are the four main topics that we're going to cover. I feel like we should start with comfort can be your worst enemy. And this is something that controversial take, but I feel like when it comes to like comfort feels nice, it feels fine, it feels earned, a bit like what we just spoke about there, having a busy week and having a bit of downtime. And for me personally, the people I've been around that have been the most successful is understanding that comfort is fine, but don't sit there too long, because there is someone else out there while you're comfortable doing or building the thing that you want or the thing that you wanted. And ultimately, it's important to be very aware of where you're at, but understand that maybe that's not the end goal. And if there is a bigger goal, which I think everybody should have a goal, you need to continue to work towards it. And sometimes you need to be uncomfortable as well, and almost looking for those uncomfortable moments at the same time as enjoying the small comfortable moments is very important. What's your view on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, because as much as it kind of links with comparison, really, doesn't it? Because you see, I'm sure you've seen people on socials, maybe other business owners, gym owners, and they're busy all the time. So that when you have that day where you're like, oh, I'm not really feeling it today, you sort of look at them and you go, fuck, they're miles ahead. And like that is like the common denominator, really, is that no matter how they're feeling, they sort of like just push through. I remember a while back on an episode of the podcast, once we had a conversation, and I think I asked you sort of what keeps you motivated during your prep for your shows. And I remember you saying basically the exact same thing, that you have a vision of someone else out there that you are going to compete with that you don't know, who is training like harder. And I remember you saying that. So it kind of links with that, really. But yeah, again, like you mentioned before, going sort of now like the self-employed route, you have any time off, you feel guilty for it because you're like, I need to be busy all the time. Again, like with anything, there's moderation and there's balance. If you have a really high output week and you've been working sort of like nonstop, yes, you are allowed time to be comfortable, chill out, almost refresh, then you can push harder again. If it's just like, one day of work, 4 days of chilling out, then it's kind of, it's not really balanced. So again, like with anything, I think you just need to find a good balance for it.
Do you know, for me, my toxic trait is I actually don't believe in balance at all. I actually hate that phrase massively. I don't believe in it. Like, I really don't. Like, I think it's a scale that always tilts in either side, right? So imagine this scale of like comfort, discomfort needs to consistently move like this in order for anybody to be able to progress. It's the same with like, like I using relationships as an analogy. There's loads of relationships out there. Obviously, being a PT for 12 years, I've worked with people in their like 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And from my experience, right, from the couples that have split or the couples that are no longer together are the ones that just get comfortable and stop putting effort in. And it's like, they're just like, yeah, it's just nothing special anymore. And you're like, yeah, because you've both given up. Neither of you are doing anything. Whereas the couples that last, and there was a couple that there was a lady I used to work with. She was a receptionist at Castle Place, and her other half was a legend, right? He'd always come in. And I remember, like, you meet people in life that have a certain personality that just radiates, and you're like, you're just really cool. And he was a dude. He wasn't a bodybuilder. He's a normal guy, but he's in all right shape, right? And I asked him one day, why do you go to the gym? He was there like, just so I can drink beer and have a steak and chips at nighttime. I'm like, fair enough. That's your goal, then that's cool. But every time I'd meet him, right, he'd be talking about like how hard he's working, but also he's like, then I'm going to take my missus out on the Saturday. I'm going to do this with the kids and all this sort of stuff. And he's doing proactively organizing all these things. And he never talked down about it. I'll be like, how you doing, bro? He's like, living the dream every day. And I was just like, see, those guys are still together now, and like I think has gone through cancer and battled through it as well. And he's still there. And they've been together for like 35 years. And you're like, I just believe that there needs to be a level of like comfort can be really bad, but equally you've got to enjoy those comfortable moments. And the biggest and most important thing is moments. It should never be long term. It should be moments. It's a bit like for us when we do a bodybuilding show, the uncomfortable bit is the prep. Like that's the hard bit, understanding that when you're sat there, someone could be dieting that little bit better, training that little bit harder, resting that little bit more, like all those things, which forces you to be really, really good. And the outcome is when you've done your show and whatever place you get, it's the best possible physique you could bring to the stage. And then you have that comfort stage afterwards of going, the result, I'm going to take a couple of days to chill with my partner, or I'm going to take the week off afterwards just to enjoy training again, just get my baseline back. And then that bit is like the small bit of comfort at the end of that massive length of discomfort, which you can really appreciate because you've earned it, right? But then there needs to be something else that you got to work towards afterwards. Otherwise, you just end up stagnant. You lose the love. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to see it, to be honest. Yeah. Again, I think comfort and moderation, really, isn't it? Like, people be like, I don't know, people will do like really basic stuff, won't they? And they'll be like, oh, I earned this. And it's like, bro, you're doing no different to anyone else, really, isn't it? So if you can put out loads of work and energy, and then have the time to, like, you said the guy just takes his misses it every now and then. It's like, yeah, cool, you've like actually earned that, like you've put in some graft, like you can go out, you can relax. But
Yeah, but even
again,
if like you said there, those small moments, even if it's a small win, you're like, oh, everybody else is doing it. That's fine. Enjoy it. Have those comfortable moments where you've worked for that, but also like it should be short lived. Like enjoy the comfort and just be like, yeah, cool. I've earned this today. But then what are you doing tomorrow? Like move on tomorrow. Yeah, like this scale has to consistently shift. If it's never shifting, we're going to be here, right? Or you're going to lean too far on the side of comfort. And at that point, it's like you are going to remain the same. And then you see so many people that are like, when me and Maddie went off to America, and I'm very grateful that we were able to do that. But there were some of my mates that were like, "Oh, it's a once in a lifetime holiday," and I was like, "No, it's not," because you are in like some of these guys are in businesses that they're self employed, right? But equally, I know for them, they go out on the weekends, like so. Okay, maybe you can't if you want to go and do these things, then don't go out on the weekend. Spend that time working, get the additional income, work overtime, like do those things to get the additional income. That sure it's uncomfortable, but the comfort. Sorry, fucking I can't speak. The comfortable moment is when you're on holiday and when you're in the place where you wanted to be, and it's not a once in a lifetime holiday anymore. It's a once a year holiday. So like it just needs to be this level of understanding that comfort to a degree is fine, but not all the time. Otherwise, you're screwed. And same when it comes to changing your body. We speak about this all the time. Getting someone to go from A to B, point A where they start their body transformation to point B is very uncomfortable because your body hasn't been point B yet. So it's hard to do. But when you're at point B, maintenance is so much easier than the journey between A and B. That's the comfortable moment. But there needs to be this discomfort of changing your habits, dieting hard, saying no to specific social events potentially, saying no to easy food choices. You have to say no. And that's the discomfort that you have to go through to get the comfort, right? So it's just understanding that process a little bit more and not leaning into this current this current ideology of, oh, it's all about balance. There's so many people say that it's all about balance, and you're like, yeah, but unless you want to change lives with them specifically, right? If you're like, actually, you live the life that I want to live, then maybe you shouldn't take that advice, and maybe you should look to the people that are maybe doing the things, maybe are affording the holidays that you want to go on, or maybe have the house you want or the family you want, right? Those things, those people, you should look towards them. And I guarantee you, I would say it's a very finite amount of those people will say that life is about balance.
preach.
Yeah.
Preach. Definitely.
That moves us on to comparison is holding you back. What's your view on that, Jake?
Oh, fucking massively, dude. Like, especially now in this day and age with the likes of social media and the countless number of influencers that we see nowadays. I think, fucking hell, there's, hundreds of thousands of them, really, isn't there? Every single day you go on Instagram, you see someone else that looks a little bit better than you, and then you suddenly put yourself down and you think, oh, I should need to be there. I think, for me personally, with experience working with young guys, I think comparison is like the biggest killer of confidence. Like one of the biggest killer of confidence, like 100%, because they're in a position where they, they're just starting, and they see someone that is already 3 years of experience going sort of like, balls to the wall, knees deep, and looking obviously really, really good. And then they suddenly think, oh, well, because we're the same age and I'm not there, then I'll never get there. And it's like, okay, now there are guys younger than me that look 10 times better than me. But, at the end of the day, it's me versus me. And if I can be a better version of me, then that's all that I really need to worry about. Is the version of me this year going to be the version of me that competed 2 years ago? That is my main focus. I'm not looking at the other guys on stage when I compete. I'm looking at, obviously, you. And if you're saying that I'm better than I was last year, and I can see that as well, then that's all that matters to me. But yeah, again, for me, like I said, comparison is probably one of the biggest killers of confidence, and it's just getting over to people that it's them versus them. Not them versus the world, because if it was, then they'd lose. It's
Mm.
literally them versus them.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I completely vibe with that. I completely vibe with that. I think personal growth comes from personal growth, right? Not comparing yourself to other people, because that would take away from the person, which is you. So it's personal, isn't it? It needs to be on a personal level.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
I do think, again, toxic trait. We're going all about toxic traits today. I do genuinely think comparison can sometimes be a very useful tool, in my opinion. I think it's only destructive when you use it to quit. Like, you use it as like, oh, this person's better, so why bother? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that as well, because
Mm.
you can look at, so like for me, like we would look up to like the top bodybuilders, right? So you would look up to the top men's physique athletes. I'd look up to the top classic athletes, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. So in 5 years, I want to be like a percentage of what they are now. Okay, so like sometimes, yeah, like you said, comparison can be a very useful tool. I think, and again, with my experience working with younger guys, a lot of them just instantly see it as a negative. They instantly see it as a
Mm.
negative. And I think, especially in my generation, it's this kind of, and we've mentioned this on the podcast numerous amounts of times. I always bring it up because it is so common, because I've experienced it. It's just kind of like, if I want something, I want it, now. And there's
Mm.
no, not necessarily they don't want to work hard for it, but there's no understanding that there is like a level of graft. Like we know that there is a long level of graft in order to get to a desired look, especially if you are at the sort of basic starting point. You are just beginning. There is a lot of
Mm.
graft, but yeah, comparison can be a super useful tool. 100%.
Mm.
I look to you all the time about being self-employed, being a coach, being a really good coach, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What things am I doing? And what things Lewis doing, and what is Lewis doing better than me that I can then replicate to then make myself better. So yeah, super useful.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think genuinely, feel like most of the people that do really, really well are like obsessive comparers. And I don't think that's a bad thing, as long as you use it to look at other people and say, well, what are they doing that I'm not? Does that make sense? So
So
when sorry, bro, you were gonna say?
no, you go. You go.
I think if you look at other people and you go, well, okay, cool. They have, let's say, a desired look, or if they have, I don't know, an outcome with their business or their life in any situation. If you can look at them and go, well, okay, they've clearly got some traits that I don't have. How do I formulate those traits? Which is very similar to what you just said about, like, you were looking over to me and being like, how is he getting these results or whatever? Like, I'm going to make sure that I do that, and so on and so forth. That just allows a lot of personal growth. But I feel like, yeah, it's just one of those where it can be really destructive if you're looking for an immediate thing. Like, if you're looking to, like, if you look to someone else who's slightly better than you in something, and you're not at least willing to accept that maybe they might be working a little bit harder, maybe doing it for a little bit longer, maybe they have a structure that you should reach out to them for or something, then you're gonna inevitably quit at that point. So you go, what's the point? And at that point, that's almost quite, I wouldn't say it's stupid, I'd just say it's naive, because you're like, well, we're all just, I think I said it to you before, we're all skin and bones, right? So technically, they have a formula that's working. Why not find out what the formula is? And if it's very evident, if it's a time thing, if it's a time for you as a young bodybuilder, right? And you look up to all these jacked people that are 3 years older than you, it's very easy to go, well, okay, fine. Well, probably the biggest thing, really, my biggest lever that I can pull is consistency. And I've just got to wait it out and just continue grafting hard because that's what they've done. So I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. Whereas other people will go, well, they're massive, I'm not. Well, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, I was gonna say as well that, like, I think comparison is also really good when you appreciate the person. Like, you tell me all the time, like, oh, I've just had a new client sign on board. Like, I'm not sort of like, oh, wow, that's great. I'm like, fucking yeah, let's go. Like, let's do it. I feel like you've also got to see them in a positive light and not necessarily see them as like an enemy. Again, there are positives to almost seeing them like an enemy, because you're like, right, you are my biggest biggest competition
like a
right now.
rival.
Yeah, literally like a
Right.
like I'm gonna fucking annihilate you, but at the same time you've got to also like congratulate them on their wins as well, you know, and just like stay humble. Again, I've mentioned it in the podcast. We had this conversation when I first started house coaching, and I was like, "Oh, I have no clients on board," and it's like, "Yes, because you simply have not put in the time yet." So,
Do you know? Sorry, go on.
So like me comparing myself to the likes of you and other younger coaches around me, it was like, well, we just wasted energy on it because you haven't earned it yet. So,
Yeah, man. You ever think, like, analogy wise, you ever play any of the Pokemon games?
I played Black and White. I played.
Yeah. So you know, in any of the games, you get a rival at the beginning, don't you? So you pick like the fire Pokemon. They will always pick the water Pokemon, for example, to make you. They're always going to choose the super effective Pokemon that goes against your one. So water is super effective against fire, and so on and so forth. And you at sporadic points throughout the story of Pokemon, you meet up with your rival, which inevitably is the hardest, one of the hardest battles you will ever have to do in that game. But in a way, it's saying, by the way, you have to be at this level for the next bit of this game. So make sure you go off and like if they consistently beat you, I remember getting so frustrated by it. Yeah, like you meet your rival and you're like, oh, they'll always meet you at the end of a really hard gym battle. For example, like you've got to go through the gym and you've got to work your way up through all these trainers and battle them, and you want to get to the gym leader, but just before you get to the gym leader, your rival turns up and absolutely batters your Pokemon, and then you've got to go fight the gym leader. You're like, fuck, and then you're screwed over. But in a way, it forces you to go away and train your Pokemon more, doesn't it? And then you come back with stronger Pokemon, and then inevitably the next part of the game is enjoyable. But you have to be pushed to that level. So yeah, rivals are good as long as it's a healthy rivalry and not something that's toxic. Yeah. So yeah. Never thought I'd use Pokemon games as an analogy before. There we go. Oh dear. Right. People around you is the next one. So the people around you being very important. You want to talk about this one, bro?
Yeah, we always go back to that quote, don't we? Where it's like if there are four negative people in a group, you'll become the fifth. So I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, we know how important the environment is around us. Like training in the right environment, working in the right environment. We've had multiple occasions where the environment has been off, and therefore work ethic's been off, and we've had more occasions than bad where the work environment's been like super positive and like we've been super productive and crack on, like motivated and driven. So yeah, man, like the environment's always like it's so important. And I'd say we get a handful of people that come in and they say like, oh, work's really bad, and it's probably because they're around like really miserable people. Like, I'm not being funny, but I could probably do an office job, and if everyone's like happy and like in high spirits, then I wouldn't really care about printing the same bit of paper 50 times because like the environment's up and everyone wants to just do well and just sort of crack on. Again, I've had multiple times where I've been super negative, even in like previous jobs, and therefore it's had a domino effect on other people, and then you sort of take a step back and you're like, shit, I bring the whole vibe down. And then again, you can go into a room and be the super driven and positive one and motivated one, and then suddenly everyone's like, oh yeah, no, fuck yeah, we can do this sort of thing. So yeah, we know how important the environment is, 100%. But yeah, sometimes it just literally just take that one person to either bring the mood down or lift it. So if you can be that one person, do it. Like,
Yeah, man, definitely. Very, very true on everything you just said there, 100%. Because we both have. I mean, we've even had meetings where you've turned up, brighten up, and they're like, "Nah, we're not doing this today," because you're just one in the right mindset, and naturally that kind of gravitates to other people. And we've been there with Maddie before. I've been there with Jamie, and I've even turned up like that before. And from my experience, it's this like, I don't know. It takes one negative person to overwhelm five positive people, and all it takes is that little bit of negativity. And I think for a lot of people, you are not as, what's the right word? You're not as self-made as you think. in regards to most of the choices that you make in your life. A lot of people are like, "Well, I'm independent. I make the choices because I want to make choices." And you're like, it depends on your input, really. It depends on the input of your environment. If you're surrounded by really bad people, your sense of normal is going to be very skewed between you and then if you were with five good people, right? Because your sense of normal with the good people would be good choices. Your sense of normal with the bad people would be a bad choice. So I do think that people aren't as self-made as they think. And I think it's very easy when people go like, oh, if you want to, if you want to take on a toxic trait of if someone is not impacting your life in a positive way and you just want to cut them off, then power to you. Most people can't do that. I would always say it needs to be a conversation between that one person or those people in your life that you need to sit down and be like, things have to change because them inherently being negative or making bad choices or being bad people is not going to positively impact them, regardless of whether or not they think it is. And you have to literally sit them down and be like, look, your choices are your choices, but every choice that you make is impacting everyone around you too. So, okay, maybe you get some negative bite back, but there are also people without realizing it, they get a negative bite back in their lives as well. And you're unaware of it. Through your choices, you're making people worse. And wouldn't you rather be the friend in a friendship group that would make people better for being around them? And, I think there just needs to be that serious conversation because, again, for us as coaches, we have a very, very positive group of coaches now. But that didn't happen straight away. That happened with multiple conversations between me and you and me and Jamie, me and Maddie and me, and so on and so forth, of us being like, look, you're not the best version of you right now. Let's step it up a notch because ultimately, by you coming in as a not best version of yourself, that's going to stop Tam from growing. It's going to stop Jamie from growing. It's going to stop, Maddie from growing or whoever it is. We need to be on form. So either we change it or we call it a day. And it is a hard conversation to have, but one that will only impact both parties very positively if taken on board.
Yeah. Also, kindness costs nothing, right? Costs nothing to just put on a smile.
Yeah.
At times I've come in here and I'm like, oh, bro, I am tired in a 6 a.m. PT class. And then I'm just like, right, that is irrelevant to how I feel. These people need to lift some weights and fucking get some PBs. So put on a smile, be chatty, be nice. And then when you go home, you could be how you want to be. That's your space then. You can do what
One
you
would
want.
hope you just take the positives from that and continue that at home, right? But
yeah, exactly. And usually that's it's infectious, isn't it? Like positivity like radiates like hugely. Like it's like when you see like a video of someone yawning and then suddenly you yawn, it's like infectious. It's like that. It's like the second that you clock someone in the gym like smiling or like pushing hard, they've just got a PB, then suddenly you're like, oh fuck it, I'm ready to go now. Or like work, someone's got a promotion, you're like, oh, that's like insane. Like I'm super buzzed for you. It literally costs nothing. Like costs absolutely nothing. So
yeah, and also understanding as well that sometimes you will have bad moments where no one can be positive all the time. That's okay as long as you're aware of it, right? And like for me, sometimes I'm not great towards Maddie. She'll tell you that. Sometimes I'm shit because she'll wake me up and I'll have 2 hours of sleep. She'll be like, so we're going to go out today then? I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, I don't want to go out with you. And then she'll be like, oh my God, all right, no need to be horrible. And then I'm like, actually, I'm just being annoyed at the fact that I'm tired. And the amount of times I've had to walk upstairs and I'll sit down and be like, look, the way I said that was completely off key. I did not mean it that way. I actually really want to spend time with you. I just was pissed off that I was woken up after 2 hours of sleep and I was a little bit touchy. And admittedly, I do apologize. And yes, I would love to go out with you if you want to do that. And she'll be like, yeah, okay, cool. But as long as you're aware of it, right? And that's the thing. No one's a fucking Disney character, like the heroine character all the time. And just being aware of it makes you a much better person. And that's okay. Like again, I've snapped at people in here even sometimes and dropping them a message afterwards saying, hey, I do apologize. Come in. I'll give you a big hug. I do apologize for saying what I said. And it's never been bad. Don't get me wrong, I'm not an asshole, but just the way that maybe I phrase something or the tone that's come across has not been on point for what I would deem as the best version of myself. So as long as you're aware of it and as long as you take accountability for it, then it's okay. And as long as the majority of your choices are positive.
Yeah, definitely. Always pre-warn someone if you're in the mood. If you have the emotional capability to pre-warn someone that you may be a bit touchy, then do so.
Yeah.
Because not everyone will understand. Again, just like kindness can radiate, like so can that literally like that one moment. Someone could have like an off day, try and talk to you, and you're having an off day as well without them realizing, and then suddenly, their day's got even worse. So yeah, I think it's very humble as well, just to like you mentioned there, like pop a message to people and be like, oh, sorry, I'm being a bit of an arsehole today. Or like, oh, I'm just a bit moody or a bit touchy. Like it's it's normal, man. Like it's so normal. Like you said, we can't be positive all the time. Sometimes we have off days. So
yeah, it's fucking hard, man. It is. I'm not a saint by any regards. Like it's fucking hard to be able to tell people that you're a touchy because sometimes you feel like when you're tired, people have done stuff that has rightly annoyed you. And you're like, you know what? That did annoy me. And then there's this thought in your head of like, I'm going to double down because you just don't want to admit that maybe you're wrong. But you have to then seriously, like for me, it took me a long time. My early 20s, I was not the person that I am now. But now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, you know what, man? Like there's this other voice in my head that's like, dude, come on. Like, what are we arguing about, dude? She just asked for a day out with you. Like, is that not a good thing? And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Fucking it is. I'm a dick. And you take accountability for it, but it's a hard thing to be able to develop. It's a level of like being okay with sort of bringing your ego down, which is, I would say, harder for. Now, I would say it is equal on both sides of the spectrum. I was going to say it's harder for men, but it's definitely both sides of the spectrum. I've met some very, very egotistical women in my life as well. So I think it's just a person, right?
yeah, no, it is, yeah.
Right, that moves us on to the next thing, which is patterns that we see with clients at the moment, which I feel is like going to actively benefit everybody listening that is a client. And one thing that I wanted to touch on this week was I would say the most successful clients that I've worked with, right? And I wanted to like take an analogy from that and then apply it to and give this information across to people. And I feel like a lot of people see the pictures on the wall in the gym, or they see my Instagram, and they'll see the people that are absolutely ripped shit, and they feel like they never have any off days, they never miss a check in, they never, they never like cheat on their diet or fuck up. And I feel like that's really easy to kind of get in the mindset, a bit like the whole comparison thing, right? When someone's had not a great week and then maybe I upload like a before and after photo and they're like, well, that person's never had a bad week. So why, this maybe not for me. And I can promise you guys now that the people that are successful, those people that you see, have had the bad weeks, have had the tough ones where maybe things haven't been linear. Maybe they've had a bug and not been able to eat most of the week. But those are the people that literally just check in anyway. They just check in anyway every single time and they just hold themselves accountable to it. And that's okay. Yeah, because that's part of the process. And I haven't had one single fucking person that I work with who hasn't fucked up multiple times. Multiple times. So not even saying once, we're saying like 5 times. But the difference is they've checked in anyway, and then they've asked for some advice with it. So they've gone like, look, this happened. How do I avoid this happening moving forwards? Okay, cool. I really appreciate that communication. Try this. And then I'll go, oh, that solves this problem. But now I have this problem. How would you suggest I get over this? Well, thanks for communicating again. I would try this. Okay, that solves that problem too. And eventually they just become vicious and aggressive problem solvers. And they can then follow a plan consistently because it's more molded around them. So if you get a plan from one of us and you're like, this is not sustainable for me because I keep fucking up, check in anyway and then explain what happened. Yeah, there's no bad answer. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we need to make it adaptable to you. And equally, if it's something that shouldn't be adapted around, you maybe need to have a little bit of a stern message from us being like, look, man, like this is not having 3 Monster Energy drinks and 2 packs of Haribo every single day is not going to positively impact your health. but ultimately you need to communicate it. So we're here to give you that advice. So yeah, that's the bit that I wanted to talk about.
Unless people are like deliberately going off plan, like deliberately because they just blank refuse to do so. I mean, we're like super open-minded. You know, we've walked that path of having a transformation as well, so we know how fucking difficult it can be. You know, for like the past 2 weeks, I've been ill, and then been like consistently worrying about losing progress, and then it's just like the simple conversation, and then also just acknowledging it as well. I think like being a good listener is also very key, because sometimes, like you said, people just do need to be told like the harsh reality of like, look, you just need to get on with it, and you just need to double down and just stay consistent. And if we have a solid week, then it will just lead on to the next. Whereas like some people have like genuine issues, like I don't know, like relationship troubles, or maybe finances are low. They've jobs are work's getting hard or difficult, and sometimes they just need to have the approach of like, look, I'm just going to sit down, I'm just going to relay my feelings across what's going on, and then just listen as well. Like you mentioned with being like annoyed and not wanting to sort of take accountability for it, a lot of people just, they have almost like an ego where it's kind of like, look, this is how I'm feeling and this is how I need to feel. I'm not listening to what anyone says to me, no matter how productive it is. Like, you've had it countless times, and I've had it sort of a couple of times here and there with clients, where it's a simple case of just writing up, pros and cons list and saying like, look, this is what's going wrong, but this is how we can respond. But these things are going well. So, I think, again, and we see this pattern quite common with clients, especially that are going through maybe like a transition in their training, where like the first 2, 3, 4 weeks are like really solid, on point, motivation is key. And then it sort of like tends to like die down a bit until we give them a bit of a pick me up. And I think it's just a reminder that like progress is linear, like you mentioned there, right? You're not going to have a perfect week every single week, 52 weeks of the year. Some weeks are going to be fucking difficult, and they're going to be struggling, and you probably won't push as hard, or stick to the diet as much. But again, progress it's not necessarily all about this. It's kind of like this. But as long as like the end point is higher than the starting point, then you've made progress. So yeah, but you're not a robot at the end of the day. You're not a robot. You're a human being that will inevitably make mistakes. That's literally how we learn and grow as humans. So communication is key. Just be open and honest, and just tell your coach how you feel and how you can appropriately respond to it.
Absolutely. And there isn't really a problem we can't work around. Yeah, like as long as you're willing to, and again, like going back to what Jake was saying, there was sometimes you need that harder chat with a coach. That's part of it. It's why the military are so good sometimes at getting people in shape for active war scenes, is because they have, sergeants and people like that barking orders. Not saying that it has to ever get to that point, but for me personally, I prefer a coach that's open and honest with me, that tells me when to double down, and also tells me when they can adapt to be able to work around a situation. So the only way you're going to find out is by communicating. And there's been multiple times with my coach, Cal, where I've been there like, hey, this is going on in my business at the moment, and this is requiring a lot more time. And he's like, well, that's cool, we can work around that. And I'm like, awesome. But equally, there have been other times where I've been maybe late with the check-in due to the fact that my business has been very busy. And he's like, look, dude, you have to hold yourself accountable for the fact that you need to keep yourself as a priority. Otherwise, you're not good for other people. So I need you to check in on this day, and I need you to get it done, because otherwise we don't get the information, and we don't get valued information each week. I'm like, okay, cool, I need to do that. So I prioritize it now. And it's like nice to have that balance on both sides of the scale. And for us, we're not ever going to maliciously tell you to just stick to it because we like to see you struggle. Our goal is to make you succeed, and we want to get you to the outcome that you want. And that requires a level of negotiating about over the things that can be negotiated about, right? Not you negotiating with us what you're willing to do, because ultimately you've told us you want outcome, and we have to tell you what it needs to be able to get said outcome. We can negotiate about the things that are negotiable in that process, but equally there are certain things that are non-negotiable. And that requires, if someone goes, well, I only want to go to the gym once a week and I want to be a men's physique athlete. there's a non-negotiable of you have to at least train 3 times a week minimum. But I can't negotiate with that. I'm afraid that's not, you know, that's like someone doing a bank robbery, holding hostages, and they go, I want 10 million. And then they're like, well, I'll give you a tenner. How about that? And they're like, well, no, absolutely fucking not. However, if they went to 9 million, then maybe. So it's kind of like you have to negotiate with the negotiable things, but the only way you're going to find out what those negotiable things are is if you actually talk about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's like sort of an element of like setting a standard first, isn't there? And yeah, there's non-negotiables as well, definitely. Which we relate to like every client, so they understand from the get-go. So I don't think they could ever sort of like use that against us, really, which is quite nice because it's like the standard, but then again, you also know that it's linear and like mistakes will be made, and that's fine. It's just having like the appropriate response, isn't it? So yeah, those are the patterns that we see.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and obviously for us as well, going back to what you just said, we're very informative about what we do with everybody. We talk you through the whole process. However, we can only incorporate so much, inside of that initial video and inside of the first few sessions. There will be that, dude. Fitness is body transformation is such a broad spectrum of knowledge. To give you guys an example, Pro IQ, which is a module that I bought for us to use to develop our coaching, has 260 modules. 260 modules, inside of that course. That's to get the best results possible. So there is absolutely zero chance that we can relay that information and everything over inside of a 45-minute onboarding video and the first, I would say, multiple gym sessions that you have with us as a PT. But over time, we're feeding the modules over time. And then you realize these things can change, things can move, and things can twist and mold around you. And there are certain things that can't. But the only way you're going to find out is if you encounter a hurdle, is ask. And that's the biggest thing for me, bro. I genuinely have had clients come in and be like, I don't want to message you because I don't want to spam you. Like, spam me. I want to be spammed. Like, I cannot unequivocally pound my WhatsApp to the point where it's going da-ding, 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 da-ding all the time. Because when I'm sat there going, I wonder how John is getting on with his plan. If you're spamming me all the time and you're asking me loads of questions, well, John's on his plan. Like, he's definitely fucking following it because he's asking me questions about it. The ones I worry about are the people that don't message me because I'm there like, I haven't heard from them. And to be honest, there were some pretty complex movements in their plan. Unless they're absolute athletes that have years of training, I have no doubt they've encountered issues and they're choosing not to tell me. So I would prefer to talk to people. I prefer to know. So don't feel like you're spamming us. Spam the fuck out of our phones. I want to be led at home, not sleeping, because the whole of the night my WhatsApp is popping off and my phone's vibrating off the side. Not really. I was joking there, guys. Please don't take that literally. Don't just send me GIFs and stuff. GIFs. God, millennial coming out there.
Yeah, I always love it as well. I got like a couple guys, George, for example, I'll send him a check-in. He'll be like, really appreciate the check. Like, even just acknowledging stuff as well. Like, appreciate the check-in. Took everything you said on board. Going to do X, Y, and Z this week better. So then we have a better check-in next week. Also, people that like obliterate the fuck out of the comment section down below the check-in is like brilliant because it's like, I mean, yes, is it a lot to read sometimes, but I mean, what's better than having more information? Like, it's brilliant because it's like you get an actual rundown as to how their week has gone, because you probably see your clients like maybe once a week, like maybe, unless they're doing a PT session and unless they're conveniently in the gym when you are. Some of the guys I don't even see like all week, they train in other places. So having them like fill out that bottom of the check-in, like in real, like a lot of detail is like super, super helpful. And yeah, like you mentioned there, when they send you videos and stuff of like, am I doing this right? You then get confirmation of like, they are on it, like they're on top of it. So it's good. Yeah. Just fucking annoy us. Get to the point where we actually want to turn our phones off, but we can't because you're messaging us so much. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah, man. 100%. So, guys, that is the end of the Monday Morning Motivation podcast. So, hopefully, you guys enjoyed that and you took some good information from it. Obviously, if you guys want to be involved in any of the future podcasts, the chat is always open. You can always message and ask us questions. As one of the most undervalued parts of this whole section is like you can actually ask us questions while we're here. It's the way to get an immediate response. You don't have to wait for a WhatsApp. You can see how we're saying it, how we relay the information. Sometimes WhatsApps can be misread and misinterpreted with how you read a message. Like sometimes some people read it like, hey, nice one. And it could be seen as blunt when in reality it was, hey, nice one. That's awesome. So it's kind of, again, it's nice to just be able to see us, talk to us and see how we respond to stuff and give you the information that you need to continue moving forwards in your journey. But get involved. And we're going to be back on Thursday. And I expect to see some of you guys here on the Thursday evening podcast so we can go over some of your questions then. But in the meantime, have a solid week.
Yeah, have a brilliant week, guys. Always feel free to reach out to either myself or Lewis or any of the coaches over at Tribe as to how your week's going. If you need any help or any more advice, tips, etc. Thursday's podcast. Just tune in, come along, get involved in the conversation. There's nothing more than answering. Nothing more that we like than answering sort of like you guys' questions and helping you guys out. That's ultimately our job at the end of the day. Really, it's just helping people with their goals and their achievements. So yeah. Come along, get involved. But I hope everyone has a lovely, productive week, and we will tune in and catch up with you guys on Thursday.
Peace out, my G's. Peace out. Have a lovely rest of your week. And we'll see you on Thursday, guys. Bye.
Peace, guys. Go kill it.